So for all those out there who are wondering, which set of colored pencils should I get? Which ones are better? Which are the best? Should I go for the more expensive pencils, or are these cheap ones going to work? I decided to make this color wheel chart with 12 different types of colored pencils. And the bad news is, if you look at this chart, most of them are fairly close to each other. So far as their performance, there's not like a glaring difference in the color quality of the pencils between Prismacolor, Faber-Castell Polychromos, Lyra Polycolor, and, for instance, Crayart, a very inexpensive brand on Amazon, which actually is a favorite of mine. I think that the differences in them are going to be the longevity. Obviously, I'm not going to trust, as beautiful as these pencils look, the Crayart, comparable very much so to Prismacolor, as you can see, and also comparable to Prismacolor in the way they feel going on the paper. I'm going to trust the light fast properties of Prismacolor long before I would trust Crayart. I'm actually in the process of doing some of my own light fast testings in a south-facing window. We'll see what happens with that. It's going to be at least 6 months to do that test. But overall, as you can see from here, most of these pencils are fairly close. I mean, I tried to go in and pick out a blue, a red, and a yellow in each set that was as close as possible to, all of the others in the other sets, and did the same type of color wheel. The significant differences that I saw when I was doing this were the ease with which the color would go down, and the feel of the pencil. For instance, like these King Arts down here, I actually did not like the way they felt at all going down onto the paper, even though you can see I got fairly decent blends with them. They weren't pleasant to work with. I actually gave that set away after testing with them, simply because they weren't something that I was ever going to go back to. The Prismacolor, the Crayart, and I'm not even going to try to say that, the Farben oil pencils, Arten Fly Oil, Faber-Castell, Lyra, even the Shadow Arts, Coolbank, basically all of them felt much better than the King Art pencils. The other difference that I saw when I was doing this little exercise was that some of the pencils, they layered so much more easily and smoothly. It took a lot more work to get the blends with the King Art. It actually took a lot more work to get the blends with the Spectrum Noir color blend. Now, I only had the one set of those. I will say that I'm probably never going to buy another set, just because of how difficult it was working with them. Now, they're supposed to be an oil and wax mix. The colors are pretty, but they were very difficult to work with. Now, the Crayart, again, I absolutely love them. They feel, to me, exactly the same as a Prismacolor in their softness and in their blending. The other thing that you'll notice is some of these, the purple shows a lot better in the blending than on others. I'm pretty sure that's probably more due to me picking an incorrect red or blue whenever I was picking them out of the set to work with. But you can see that even if I didn't get actually purple, they did blend fairly well with most of them. Now, the Castle Arts, I know a lot of folks really like those. I found them difficult to work with as well. Not as difficult as the King Art, but it took a little bit more effort to get the blending going on with those. Obviously, one of my favorites, the Art and Fly oil pencils. They are very comparable actually to the Lyria Polycolor oil pencils. You can see that they are almost, obviously I had a warmer red here and a cooler down here for the Lyra, but you know, the blending of them and just the basic laydown was very, very similar. Faber-Castell Polychromos, they're actually my favorite of all of the oil color pencils so far, as if I'm going to do something that I intend to last, because being a more professional color pencil, they are going to have much better light fast ratings. The Coolbank pencil set was actually that one and the Shuttle Art. They were surprising to me. I didn't expect them. I actually thought that they would do worse than the King Art pencils, because King Art, you know, they talked them up and they're supposed to be super professional and whatnot, but the Shuttle Art and the Coolbank, they went down much nicer. Now, the one that was a bit of a disappointment to me was the Cretacolor, which is a professional pencil, and it's a very large fat pencil. I don't have, this is actually a Albrecht Dürer watercolor, but they're about this size for the Cretacolor wax, and they do blend fairly nicely. They're very, very soft, but they feel the tooth of the paper so fast that you have to have a very light hand with them as you go to layer them. Now, I think they would do much better on a paper with a heavier tooth. This is actually a piece of Bristol, vellum Bristol. So, I mean, it has a half decent amount of tooth, but not a lot. But I was actually shocked that I thought that they would do a little bit better, but they definitely, you have to take a light hand with them. But overall, just wanted everyone to be able to take a look at and see that in general, even though you may have to put a little bit more work into some of them, they all perform very similar. And as I said earlier, I think the biggest difference in what you're going to choose for your colored pencil is going to be on what you expect to use them for. If you are going to use your colored pencils to make art that you expect to last or that you would want to sell, you're going to obviously want to put out more dollars to get a better set. I would go with the Polychromos. Prismacolor, they're, you know, better in light fast ratings than, you know, at least they have them. But the Faber-Castell, they're one of my favorite, and then of course the Lyra Polycolor. Now, I don't have any of the super expensive, you know, like the godfather of pencils, the ones that are, you know, running you like $800 for a set. But I would expect that if you can afford those, that they would probably be the ones that you would want to go with if you're doing professional art. Now, if you're just doing art for fun or you're just doing coloring books, by all means, I would recommend Cray Art. Castle isn't bad. The Shuttle Art, the Coolbank, they all performed well. And the Art and Fly, if you want to go with an oil based pencil, would be a good choice there as well. And all of those, they won't break your budget. Hopefully this was useful, and I guess that's it.